The movie begins with a scene of mountains. We see a couple named Becky and her husband Dan, climbing a mountain. They recently got married and living a happy life. They're quite fond of climbing the mountain, even though they're crazy. This craziness led them toward dangerous areas. Along with them, Becky's friend was also with them. She was fond of taking risks. Three of them always found a new danger for them. While climbing on the mountain, Dan's hand accidentally touches a bird's nest. Dan becomes unbalanced as the bird flies with danger. He was hung with a rope and couldn't climb up even if he wants. Becky and her friend try a lot to save him, but they can't save him. For this reason, he falls down and dies. Later, we see the scene the time after 1 year when Becky is still in mourn. She still kept the ashes of Dan with her. She also starts drinking more, and her life completely falls apart. Becky's father became very disturbed at seeing his daughter in this condition. After a long time, he invites his best friend, named Hunter. She used to climb mountains with Becky and her husband. After the death of her husband, she meets her best friend after a year. She says, "Let's go have another mountain climbing adventure. It was our hobby, you'll feel better after coming with me." Later, she shows her a historic tower, 2,000 foot tall that used to be in the desert. She invites her to accompany her there and scatter her husband's ashes there. You'll feel better, and your husband's soul will feel peace as a result. After thinking a lot about it, Becky finally decides to go with Hunter. She wants to have fun with her, and they start their journey. They enjoy it a lot on the way. They record videos on their mobile. During this all, a terrible accident was about to occur because of their negligence. A fast, speedy truck was about to hit them, but they stop their car meanwhile. They feel relaxed that they've been saved and move ahead. They reach their destination. On the way, Hunter comes across a dead goat that was being eaten by birds. She flies all the birds and later posts the picture of the goat on her Instagram, after capturing it. Later, they reach the tower and Hunter makes a video. She was recording everything. They first feel fear to see its height. Seeing Becky's condition, it seems as if she is quite afraid. Hunter relaxes her that there is no need to be afraid. "We'll do it." She ties herself and Becky too. Then they start climbing, but Becky was feeling everything while uplifting. Old rusted tower and the sound of its stairs. While uplifting, Becky was afraid, but she keeps on climbing. After climbing up, Hunter tells her that we've reached the middle of the tower. It means they've crossed 1,000 feet, and its height is equal to the height of the Eiffel Tower. The wind was blowing fast there because it was top height. And they've held a stare. Hunter tells her that only a little distance is left, and soon we'll reach our destination. But when Becky looks down, she was feeling afraid to be at top height. Hunter makes fun by shaking the stairs, and she becomes quite afraid with this. Gradually, they've climbed the top of tower. While climbing on the tower, one of the stair nut has broken, and they remain unaware about it. They were busy in their celebration. Hunter brings out her drone camera and record everything. Becky was also happy with her friend. Hunter can't stop, and after hanging with the tower, she asks Becky to take her picture, and asks her to do the same. She was feeling afraid, but after overcoming her fear, she agrees and hangs with the tower and takes her picture. Hunter hugs her friend and Becky tosses her husband's ashes into the air. She feels a bit relaxed and both begin to miss him. After completing their mission, they decide to return. The rusted stair of the old tower has been broken. Becky hangs down, but Hunter has managed to pull him upward. Becky's bag hangs with the tower's antenna. That contains their drone camera and edible stuff. That has become out of their range now, and Becky begins to be afraid. They bring their phone, but there was no access to the signal on the top of the tower. Later, they find a flare gun and microscope from the tower. Hunter says it is useless. If we operate the gun now, it'll be useless. Becky becomes nervous to see an injury on her leg. She bandages her, and what else they can do? They complete their vlogs by sitting there. After a few hours, Hunter sees through the microscope. A car is standing there at a distance, but they can't call them for help. Later, Hunter checks her phone, the post she has posted a while ago. That post gets many likes and comments, which means there was signal access on the ground at that time. Hunter writes a message for help and posts it on her ID. After tying her phone with a rope, she descends it so it can get signal access, and her followers could come for her help after seeing her post. The phone still was out of signal access, so their message couldn't post. She decides to curve down the phone by hanging there. Their message still doesn't post, and Hunter decides that she'll throw her phone down and puts it in her socks first. Later, in her shoes, so her phone doesn't break after falling on the ground. Later, she throws her phone down and her phone will catch signals on the ground. As a result, her post will be sent. Hunter looks through the microscope and she sees a man with his dog on the ground. He was a phone call with someone, and Becky hurriedly throws her shoe down. So, he can notice them, but he doesn't say anything and goes from there. Becky was about to shoot the gun, but Hunter stops her. She tells her to wait till sunset. Someone will surely come to rescue them. It became night, and Becky sees her video on the phone to kill the time. She notices something strange. Hunter was looking at her and her husband weirdly. Meanwhile, Hunter asks her to shoot the flare gun. Later, after turning her phone's flashlight, begins to rotate. Later, two men see them, but they can't help them, nor they could see them, obviously. They were at a top height. Rather, they steal their car. At night, they try to sleep. Hunter was about to fall down. Becky saves her, and she looks a tattoo on her leg, on which 143 was written. Meanwhile, Becky remembers something. Whenever she used to say, "I love you," to her husband, he replies 143 in return. Here, Becky learns that her friend and her husband had a relationship. Hunter also has no other way, so she tells Becky everything between her and her husband. When Becky hears this, she has strange ideas, and Hunter apologizes to her. Meanwhile, Becky sees the bag that has her drone and water bottle inside it. Hunter tells her, "I'll go there to take your bag." She hangs a hook on each of the tower's 4 sides. After hanging herself with the rope, she proceeds to grab the bag, but she couldn't reach the bag yet, as she was courageous from the beginning, and she jumps from there and climbs the antenna. She takes the bag, despite the rope being out of reach. Later, after taking her selfie stick from her bag, she attaches a rope to her bag with its help. Later, she jumps long and grabs the rope. She climbs up slowly after holding it. Her rope slips off suddenly and she falls down. After seeing this, Becky begins to cry. She peeks down later and notices Hunter hanging there. She was still alive, but her hands became injured, and she couldn't climb up. Becky tries her full strength to pull her upward. Finally, she has saved her friend. She takes water and they write a note at the end. They fly it after having it attached to the drone. Unfortunately, as it goes on, the battery runs out. For this reason, they bring it back. Now it has become night. At night, Becky discovers that her friend has passed away after falling. Birds are eating her body ruthlessly. As she wakes up, she realizes it was her dream. When she sees a light on the tower, she gets an idea. She will charge the battery of her drone after going up. They do this in the morning, and Becky goes up and charges the drone. She hangs up till the drone is charged. Later, she descends, and later they write a note on a paper. They place it on the drone and send it toward their house. Before the drone could reach the house, it hits the car and broke. They spend the day with the hope that one day anyone will come to their rescue. Becky's condition gets worse and she couldn't spend a single day there. She later requests Hunter to give her shoe, so she can throw her phone, with another note because she doesn't have any other way. But Hunter stops her, and we learn here, Hunter wasn't with her. She has died at that moment after falling, when she went to take that bag, and it was just Becky's imagination. That Hunter is with her, so she can't feel herself alone. When she sees down, birds were eating her friend's body. Becky cries a lot and records a message for her dad. Her last message, she lost hope that she could survive. It turns out the morning and another day passes. Later, a bird approaches her to eat her after seeing flowing blood on her leg to eat her. After breaking his neck, Becky eats the bird raw. We learn that she was agonizing over hunger, and she gets enough energy after eating. On the other side, her father was quite worried for her. He wants to investigate where his daughter has won. Becky descends from that place after restoring her courage, where Hunter's body was placed on the antenna. After putting her phone in Hunter's shoe and placing her on her stomach, she says sorry to Hunter and throws her downward, so her phone doesn't break and her father will receive her message. After a few hours, we see Becky's dad has arrived near the tower and sees Hunter's dead body. That was being taken by the police, and he believes that his daughter might have died. Meanwhile, Becky calls him Dad, and he feels relaxed to see her daughter, that she is alive, and she hugs her dad. Finally, Becky's efforts and courage have kept her alive. This film ends with this.